Hello, everybody. My name is Marijke Geurts, and I'm going to be presenting this webinar this afternoon. And I hope you can all see the slideshow using video on Avenue. Computer was a bit slow to share the screen. Paul, is it visible? Yeah, I see a thumbs up. That's awesome. Okay. So we're just going to give it a few more minutes because I see people entering the waiting room. And I think about 60 people signed up, so that's awesome. So for this webinar, Paul will be my moderator, and he's going to keep an eye on the chat while I go through the presentation and showing you some things on Avenue. So thank you, Paul, for doing that. My trusty sidekick, I would say, but. And I also want to point out that this presentation is actually a little bit of a repeat from a workshop that Jim Edgar and I did last year at TESOL, Ontario, 2019. It's been updated. We've added a few new things, and when we did it in 2019, it was for a smaller group at TESOL O, and now it's going to be a webinar, and so it's going to be accessible for everybody. We're recording the webinar, and it will be posted on our Learn IT to Teach channel on YouTube as well. Okay. So during this webinar, I'm going to talk about a few different things. First of all, I want to share some of the theoretical background for using video in your ESL class. Then I'm going to show some ways that you as a teacher can use video for your instruction. And finally, we're going to look at some ways that students can use video and how they can submit their video assignments and recordings on Avenue. Avenue is a Moodle platform. It is funded by IRCC as the national platform for link instructors. But the suggestions and tips that I'm giving you today will work for any Moodle platform. So I hope that you find those useful, that you get some ideas. And I would encourage you that if you have suggestions, please share those in the chat. And we can compile those into a document and share that with the link instructors on our teacher-only forum. So let's see if I can get the next slide up. Now, I hope you guys see this next slide as well. Or are you still stuck on the intro? Okay. So like I said, today I want to share some benefits of using video and the theoretical background, share the experience that we've had for different ways of using video, and also giving you some tips for editing. Talked about that. Oh, and at the end of this webinar, you're going to get access to a demonstration course on Avenue, where you will be able to self-enroll as a student and try some of the activities that I'm showing you today. Okay. So for this presentation, as I said, we're using Avenue. Avenue is a learning management system based on Moodle. It's funded by IRCC, and that's what I'll be using today. So what are some advantages of using video? Well, video uses a mix of moving images, sound, and text. And so this means that video engages the learner in multisensory learning. It leads to more cognitive engagement, and that in turn enables the learners to acquire problem-solving skills. Videos have something for everybody. They address different learning styles. So, for example, auditory learners will enjoy the audio narration. Visual learners will enjoy the rich animation or text and images. And kinesthetic learners can enjoy demonstrations if it's a showing how to do something video. As a single platform, videos cater to different types of learners and different types of learning styles. Videos themselves also come in different types of different types of videos. You have animation, live video, could be a PowerPoint presentation with narration. They also have different lengths, different speeds of speaking. So there's a wide variety for you to choose from. So the presentation that I'm doing now is a video as well, and you could use a segment of that if you wanted to use that for an ESL class, for example, or a teaching ESL class, not for your ESL learners. It's important that there's a balance between the spoken word and the keywords on screen so that it's not a reading exercise, but it really is a listening exercise. And the keywords that people see, or sometimes the closed captions, are just support for the listening. Keep in mind also that for lower level learners, the speaker should be visible so that they can see their face and mouth. And of course, the speed should be slower and the length of the video should be shorter. We also recommend, based on research, that for literacy learners, you don't use animation because that is too abstract, but use real life video. So video is not just fantastic, there's also some disadvantages. It depends on which part of the country you live in, but some areas you might have some bandwidth issues. Sometimes videos, because they're so large, will take a long time to load. And if you're not on Wi-Fi but using data, then that really drains your data. So don't use it on your cell phone. As a teacher, if you want to find good videos, that can take a really long time. So hopefully we can share some videos using Tutela and using the resources on Avenue where the work has already been done for you. Because if you find videos that are not really aligned with the topic that you're teaching or the level that your learners are at, then it can be really distracting. It can be too hard or too easy and not really what your students need. If you want to produce your own videos, the big disadvantage of that is that it takes a lot of time, and producing high quality videos can be really costly. So videos are not it all the time, but try to find a balance, I would say. And if you think of any other disadvantages for using video, then please share them with us in the chat. And I don't see the chat box on my screen, so I'm depending on Paul to let me know if there's any comments coming in.
Nothing so far. Everyone's just saying it's great. Thank you very much, and
Okay.
very, very clear.
So, you know, hopefully this means that the people who are participating today don't see any disadvantages of using video, and that is fantastic. Okay, so there's different ways that you can use video in your ESL classroom. You know, the first one, of course, that everybody thinks about is that you can use it for listening and viewing comprehension, and that makes total sense. But you can also use it as a warm-up for a reading activity. For example, you could watch a little segment of the news and watch that video together as a class, and then give students a newspaper article that talks about the same topic of the news that you were watching. So then they're already a bit primed. You've had this classroom discussion, you talked about the video together, and then after that, they can read or write a written response to this video themselves. You can also use video as a speaking prompt. In one of the classes that I taught, we gave students a virtual tour of a gym. But we left out the sound, and we told the students that they had to give the voiceover. So they were learning all about health and fitness. And so in this class, they were using the vocabulary, and they had to explain the different machines that were shown in the video, and explaining some activities that were possible. So there's a way that you can use video as a speaking prompt as well. You can use a video to demonstrate a procedure, so a how-to video. And this is really great for more abstract things that are difficult to explain. If you can show something, it makes it a lot easier to understand. The other thing is that you can also show a video of what not to do. So instead of showing this is how you do it, this is the right way to do it, show a video that shows you the wrong way to do something, and then discuss that with your students. I remember one video that I did with a hospitality class, and it was all about what not to do in the kitchen. So it was this video of a cook who was doing all these crazy things and making a lot of mistakes. And for the students to point out those mistakes, they actually learned what was the correct way to do to work in the kitchen. Plus, it was a lot of fun. When you're using a video, I would also recommend that you reuse it. Don't just watch the video once and then be done with it, but try to incorporate in your classes multiple viewings. It's even best if you can do that not all in one class, but over multiple days. And then with each viewing, tell the students why they're watching this video. What is the task that goes with it so that they can be prepared and know what to watch for, what to listen for. The 3 viewings work best if you show them at different times and if they address different skills. So you can really layer the learning on the video and have individual tasks and have group tasks with that video as well. Okay. So I want to show you some editing tips on our website. And I'm going to show you how you can use closed captions, where you can find the audio transcript, how you can control the speed, and how you can add video to your Avenue course. So for me to show you this, I'm going to have to switch and I'm going to find YouTube. If you have any suggestions or questions, this is a great time to put them in the comments while I switch gears. And it looks like I'm having some bandwidth problems because my YouTube is very slow to load.
I understand. I also live in a remote area, and
Yeah.
we can't get the same internet speed that folks do in the city. So we do our best, but same as the learners, you have what you have to work with, right?
Yep. And I'm in New Brunswick, and we actually have pretty good coverage. But if there's more people in one house using a video, then that drains the bandwidth as well. Okay, so I found actually a webinar by one of my colleagues, Sepide, on YouTube. And I'm going to share my screen again. Share that one. Okay. Okay, so you should be seeing this YouTube page. Yep. If you want to play with the video and how you want to use it, you can use these controls right here. Okay, so CC is for closed captions. And if you click it, the closed captions start. Sometimes those closed captions are auto-generated, and that can be not perfect, to say the least. So if you decide to use closed captions, make sure that you screen it and make sure that those captions are actually what is being said. Unless for the higher level students, you say, oh, I'm going to show those auto-generated closed captions and I'm going to let my students find the mistakes. So in the settings right here for a video, you can change the playback speed. For high level students, you can keep it at normal, but you might even have a video that is spoken really fast, or maybe somebody has an accent that's a little harder to understand. And this is where you can change the playback speed. And if it's too fast, you can slow it down. And I would say try that 0.75, which is still close to normal. It slows it down a little bit, but not so much that it becomes like really slow motion. However, again, test this before you show it at slower speed, because some videos, it does create a slur and people sound like they're drunk, which is hilarious, but not the effect that you want for your students. If you want something funny, you could also actually speed it up right here. And you know, I haven't used videos with faster audio, but it might sound funny if you want to do like the high-pitched helium voice. Now, below that video, we know the like and the dislike button, so everybody should like this video because it's a really good webinar. Then share gives you the opportunity to, you know, copy this link and share that on your course maybe. But if you go to this one, the embed code, it actually gives you the HTML code. And that looks like this. So where it has this little, I don't even know what they're called, the little triangles, the little arrows, and
Chevrons.
The chevrons that encapsule the HTML code. And if you're a little bit more advanced on doing some editing on Avenue, you probably have seen this. So when we go to the Avenue course, I'll show you where you can use this. What's important here is the frame width. Okay, so it says 560 and height is 315. So that is how large that video is going to display on your Avenue page. And when you have a video embedded on Avenue, usually this size is fine for a page or for a label. But if you want to use the video on the side in a little block, then you need to change these settings. And you do that by simply grabbing that code, saying copy. Then you're going to go to your Avenue page or block, copy that, and then you can change it. This is also really nice if you have a longer video and you don't need the intro. You can say, oh, I want to start this video after the introduction. And you can say you want to start it at 33 seconds or maybe at 3 minutes if the video is longer. So that's another really good way that you can manipulate the video and use it. So there's also the options. Oh, I just lost it. You also have options to show the player controls. And if you say, I don't want to show those controls, then the controls are not going to be here at the bottom for your students to play with. So great options if you can grab that share and embed code. One more thing that you can do on YouTube, and that's if you click these 3 dots here, and you can open the transcript. Now, this is a really long video, as you can see, it's almost an hour. So this transcript is going to take a long time to be generated. But if you have a shorter video and you say open transcript, it's going to take a couple of minutes, and then you're going to have the text like the closed captions of that video. And that's fantastic if you want to use a listening gap fill exercise, or if you want to watch the video and have students read along, or if you want to create a reading with some questions and then watch the video afterwards. There's all kinds of things that you can do with the transcript. So using those videos from YouTube on your course, or just sharing the link, there's different ways that you can do that. Okay, so that is some editing suggestions. Let's take a look at that Avenue course, as I promised. I have to find that one too. I'm sorry, guys, I haven't opened my Avenue course yet. So let me do that first before I can share it with you. Let me try that one more time. Okay, so I hope it loads and you can see video on Avenue demonstration. Yeah, fantastic. Now, embedding videos on Avenue, I've shown you. You go to YouTube, you find that code, and then you can play with it. And you can embed videos in different places on your course. As I was saying, you can use that video in a block on the side. And so I've created this idiom of the week, and I just found a video that I liked, and I used that code, and I'll show you what I've done. If I go into configure that block, I'm going to edit the settings. I'm going to go into my HTML code, and those are the chevrons that I want to look at. And so here you see that frame again, and it says width and height. And you see those numbers are different. So I changed it, I made it smaller so that it would fit in the block on the side. If I made it bigger, it wouldn't fit and there would be a scrolling bar at the bottom. But this way, it fits perfectly. You can also embed videos in a label, and this is the original size. So here in this label, I didn't change it. I just left it as it is. Videos are also great for adding to pages. And so here I've created a page, which is just one single page, where I've given students some questions to think about. Then there is the video embedded in the page. And I also linked to further reading. So here you have that combination where the video starts students thinking and talking about something, and then there's a follow-up activity on the Canadian Encyclopedia where they do the Heritage Minutes. So everything is on one page. It's really accessible to students, but they can't respond to these questions. So as an instructor, you would have to tell them, write the answers in your notebook, or if it's a face-to-face class, if you still have those, discuss them in your group or something like that. You can do the same thing, embedding videos in a book activity. And a book is nothing more than a collection of pages. And what you can do is, with the table of contents, you can have different topics, different videos, and students can choose what they would like to listen, what they would like to read in the book, what they would like to watch. And so in this book, I've got 3 pages. One is a video about the winter forecast, and another one about saving energy during the winter. And another one is about walking safely on the ice. And this book can have many, many more pages. So you could even do it as a jigsaw activity where each student picks a different video. It might be a little bit of work for you to create this collection, but it makes it easier for the students who don't have to go out and find the videos on YouTube. Plus, you can pre-screen the videos and make sure that they're all appropriate for your students. So putting videos in a book actually works exactly the same as putting videos on a label or on a page. And I can show you actually how to do that real quickly. So I'm going to add an activity. For this example, I'm just going to use adding a page because it's the quickest. You're going to add a page. And in this toolbar, that's where I want to go. You can expand the toolbar to show all the buttons, but to embed video, these are the ones that we want. Okay. With this one, I can record my own video, and we're going to get into that in a little bit later. This one is to record audio. This one is to insert or edit a video file. And this is for an image. And if you wanted to use that HTML code that you grabbed from YouTube, you would click here, switch to HTML, and then just copy paste your code there. And then when you switch back to your regular view, the video shows up here. Okay, so in this toolbar are all the buttons that you need to embed video. And I'm not going to go in further detail because there are other webinars that explain really well, step by step, how to embed those videos. So I don't want to spend too much time on that. But I just wanted to show you this toolbar is fantastic. That's all you need. I also wanted to mention that if you have a lot of videos on your course, so if you have a lot of videos in labels directly on your course page, then that's going to make your course quite heavy to load. And if you're having issues with bandwidth, if your internet is a little bit slow, definitely I would recommend to add videos in pages or in books. There's other ways that you can use video and make it a little bit more interactive. So as I said, in pages and books, you can share a lot of information and give students questions to think about, but you're still going to have to discuss the answers afterwards. On Moodle, we can also have an H5p activity. An H5p gives you the opportunity to make an interactive video. And there's a really great webinar by John Allen who explains how to use H5p. I can really recommend it. But what it looks like is like this. So I found a video that I liked. And here at the bottom, you can see, actually this video plays twice. It's one video, but the segment is repeated. So for this video, I said the first time you're just going to watch it and you see there's no dots here. But then the second time the segment plays, there's going to be some assignments. And that's what these dots point out. Okay, so the video is interactive in the way that I can add text to it. And I've got it muted. And you see that it will stop automatically and I can add a question. So I've done that several times in this video. Every time there's a dot, there's a question, there's a little activity. And at the end, there's also a summary where students see their score and see how well they did. And on Avenue, with the new H5p plugin, that score is also transferred to your students' gradebook. So they can see how well they did, and you can see how well they did. So H5p is a really nice way to make the video interactive, have them answer questions and see if they had it right or wrong immediately. There's another way to use video in a more interactive way, and that is the lesson activity. Okay, so a lesson activity is similar to a book where it has different pages. And in this lesson, I've started on the first page with a video that students watch. Obviously, very, very appropriate about the coronavirus. After they watch this video, they have to answer a question. If they get the question right, then they move on to the next page. And if I go into edit, you can see that this lesson has several pages. So the first question is a true/false question. If they get it right, they jump to the next page. If they get the answer wrong, they get another opportunity to ask that question. Further on, there's a question, which is a multiple choice. If they get it right, they go to the next page. If they get it wrong, they actually are directed back to the first page where they have to watch the whole video again, because I think this is an important question. If you didn't get that, you have to watch the video again. And so in this lesson, I can create other tasks as well. For example, in this one, they have to perform a little experiment, and in the essay box, they have to report on it. So this is a really good example of having that video as the prompt. There are some comprehension questions, but then there's also follow-up activities. And at the end, I added some extra reading and also the transcript of the video. So lessons are great. They take a little bit of time to create, but if you're doing an online program or if you are having non-synchronous classes, these are really great for students to be able to work through independently. So videos can be really interactive. You as a teacher decide what you want your students to learn from this video. So H5p and lessons are great for skill using activities, but sometimes we might want to use them as an assessment. And that's where the quiz comes in. If you've used quizzes before, maybe this is not news to you. If you haven't, you'll be happy to know that you can set up a quiz as an assessment task. And I've created this little sample. So if you want to use it as a skill using, you can give students multiple attempts. You can say, oh, you're going to get your highest score or your average. But if it's an assessment, you can change the settings and give your students only one attempt. In PBLA, we recommend that you let students watch the video twice and that they have the questions to look at before watching the video, so they know what they're going to be working for, what they're going to be watching for. And you can set all of that up in the quiz. And so in my preview, your students also should know that there's a time limit. So if it's a skill using, I would still give them the time limit, but give them multiple tries. If it's an assessment, there's a time limit and they only have one try. So they really have to be aware of this before they start. So I would start with giving them all the questions. So here is just the start of what questions I want them to think about. So they're already prepared. They know what they're going to be watching for. Then on the next page, they're going to watch the video. So just watching the video, knowing that these are the questions I'm looking for. After they've watched the video, they're going to go to the next page. And this is where they can watch the video again and answer all of the questions. So all of the questions are here. When they're done, they're going to finish the attempt and submit their answers. And you'll notice that here, there's no back button. So the way I've set it up as an assessment is that they cannot go back and say, oh, I think I want to watch the video one more time and watch it 3 times. Or they cannot go back and change their answers after they've say, I'm going to submit. And this really creates the environment for an assessment. So as a teacher, you control that. And in the new PBLA modules that are being developed, these are already set up for you. We've done all the work. We found the videos and created the questions and set up the quizzes. And these are just some examples that Paul will recognize that I borrowed from one of the modules that he was working on. After this webinar, you'll have access to this course, so you can take a closer look and try these activities as a student, actually. So using those assessments and adding them to your student's e-portfolio is a great way for using video. Now let's look at some activities that also engage the students in using videos, because it's great. Me as a teacher, I make videos, I share those with them, but on forums, students can also share videos. So I can use a video as a prompt. So in the description of the forum, I'm giving you a video, you watch it, and then the question is, what are things that an online teacher should not do? And when I want my students to respond to this, it says post a brief video. So students will add a new topic and say, what not to do. They're going to record their own video. And so instead of your traditional typing, now your response on the forum is a video that's recorded and that everybody in your class will be able to see and respond to as well. I'm going to be honest with you. I was trying to do this earlier before the webinar and just to test it, and it was really, really slow to do. So I'm not going to show you that process, but on the course, there's actually handouts where it explains how to add a video to an assignment and how using that record button. And so you can think of different ways that you want to use videos in forums, but like I said, having students use the video makes it really interactive and engaging. So the next example that I want to share with you is using Poodle Assignments. Okay, so here's the symbol for creating an assignment, and it would work exactly the same way as using with that toolbar. When you create a Poodle assignment, you can actually also limit how long the video should be. So when you create the assignment, when you set it up, this one's already, I have to go to the editing. So I'm going to say for submission types, I only want to have an online Poodle. So that means that students are going to record their video using the Poodle plugin on Avenue. And the time limit is going to be 1 minute. I can change it to seconds if I want it really, really short. I would not recommend hours because that makes the file size way too big. But for different language levels, you could say, oh, maybe 30 seconds is enough for somebody at CLB3 if all I want them to do is say, hi, my name is, and this is my hobby. At a higher level, you can require more, obviously. Set it for 5 minutes for somebody at CLB6, for example. After you've put your requirements in, you're going to save it, and then students can complete the task by creating their own video right there on the website. And again, there's handouts here for you guys to take a look after the webinar if you're not sure how to create those Poodle assignments. Now, the other thing that's really cool is that you can actually add a rubric for speaking to your video assignment. And you do that by going into advanced grading. And there's a rubric attached here already. So you're going to choose rubric. And this one already has a rubric attached. So I've chosen some competencies that I want my students to be graded on. And when I go into the activity and grade the work, this rubric is going to show up, and all I have to do is check and say, this is how well you did on this competency. And that work is then also shared with the student. I can also record comments and feedback for the student to listen to. And the rubric, using a pre-made rubric, that handout is here. So again, you can take a look at it to learn more about how to use rubrics. A lot of the information that I'm sharing with you is from the Stage 3 training. And so if you go to the Learn IT to Teach blog, you can access the Stage 3 handouts there as well. So for students, a lot of them are using their smartphones. I know from experience that that's their preferred tool. So students can use their smartphones to make little selfie recordings like this and actually upload those to their private files. So every student will have private files. The private files are some personal storage that is available to them on their dashboard. So it's actually not limited to one course. They have those private files on their dashboard before they go into their course. And they can access them through their file picker. Once they have a video recorded, once they have that in their private files, they can add it just like I showed you in that toolbar. They can add files from their private files, or they can record files directly. And a fun task that you can do, and you've seen my face here on the side, is actually using a glossary. And maybe after this session, you can go in and try this and see if it works. So the glossary asks students to create, not a vocabulary word, but create an entry giving their name and then saying, hi, my name is, and this is my favorite food or my hobby. See, it's really, really slow, my internet, I'm sorry. Once everybody has added their short recording, because this is 10 seconds maybe, to the glossary, then as a teacher, you're going to add a random glossary block. And this block is modified so that every time or every day, every time a student goes into the course, there's a new glossary entry. And you can use that to practice vocabulary and have a new word of the day, but you can also use it to show a new face every day. So if you're starting with a new class and you want your students to get to know each other, what better way than for them to introduce themselves, add it to a glossary, and for you to take those and add it in a block on the side. So the instructions for the glossary are here. Students would then add a new entry. And when they do that, they either have the option to record it with their webcam, or they can add a file to the glossary. So is there anybody who's going to try this after the webinar? Okay. So the next little topic that we have is Big Blue Button. Right now, face-to-face classes are a bit challenging, to say the least. And I'm imagining most of you using Zoom or Big Blue Button or some other type of web conferencing tool. Big Blue Button is embedded in Avenue, and you can create recordings with Big Blue Button as well. Now, one of my mentees had a really good suggestion, and she said, if I record my Big Blue Button class, then students can go, you know, if they miss class, that's great. They can go and they review that recording and, you know, they're back up to speed. But even for students who were part of that class, they can go back and listen to themselves in a more relaxed environment. Because let's face it, if you ask your students to submit a recording, because it's an assignment or it's a glossary entry, they're going to be really focused and say, okay, I have to do really well. This is a recording and everybody's going to see it and my teacher is going to grade me on this, which makes it maybe not the most natural way of presenting themselves. But if you record your Big Blue Button class and tell your students, watch it again, listen to yourselves, they're going to be much more natural and they're going to probably hear different types of mistakes. Or maybe they hear that, oh, they're a lot more fluent than they thought they were. So that's a really nice way of using those Big Blue Button recordings. I want to give a little bit of caution because in our center, we actually changed our the policy, our media waiver, to also include Big Blue Button recordings, video recordings. We made it clear that these recordings are not to be shared outside of the class, and that after 1 week, those classroom recordings are going to be deleted. So if a student misses class, they have 1 week to catch up. After that, the recording is going to be deleted, just to protect their privacy as well. So students participating in our programs know that they're going to be recorded and that those recordings are just for our use and that afterwards they're going to be deleted. And so that might be a suggestion for you to think about in your own centers as well. Now I see that it's 10 to 3, which I think we've covered a lot already. Hopefully I was able to give you some ideas to use video from the teacher's point of view, but also from the student's point of view. I'm just going to leave you with 2 little topics that you can take a look at yourself. The first topic that I've got for you is a list of screencasting software. And so screencasting means that you are recording your screen. So you're recording what is happening on your computer screen. And there's different types of software. Some are paid for, some are free. You might need to figure out which one is easiest for you. If you're not too tech savvy, then maybe just using the built-in Microsoft game bar, which you can get by pressing the Windows icon with the G together, or something like Snagit. Snagit is a paid software, but it's really user-friendly. And it also comes with a little editing tool. So if you wanted to create your own step-by-step videos, or if you wanted to create a course overview showing some, the layout of your course to your students, then you can use some screencasting software. Or your students can record their screen and create some kind of to-do, how-to video. So that is the last little bit of what I wanted to share with you. If I go back to my PowerPoint, I can let you guys know how you can access this course. Which means that I'm just going to have to skip ahead to the end of the PowerPoint. Okay, so here it is. You're going to go to avenue.ca, log in as yourself, and then you're going to go to the Learn IT to Teach topic in the list of courses. Find the section that says Other Training, and there you will see the Video in Avenue course. You can use self-enrollment, which is what you also used to get started in pre-stage 2. You used self-enrollment for that. And the password is Veni Vidi Video with 3 capital V's. You will have access to it as long as you want. Try some activities. It would be really fun to see some more faces in that random glossary block. If you have questions, post to the forums. I'm going to be monitoring that website for a little bit. So if you have any questions or any suggestions, ideas, it would be great if you could share those with us. And if there are any last minute questions for me right now, please let me know in the chat.
The chat's been a busy place. Lots of thank you very much. This is fantastic. Great stuff. Those kind of comments coming. It was great. There's no outstanding questions though. So if anyone has any now, that would be the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said in the beginning, I didn't go into a lot of detail of how to use some of these tools. And that's just because if you go to our YouTube video channel, there's so many great webinars that other people have done to explain how to use these tools. But I hope that I was able to give you some ideas on how to use video, how to edit video, and some recommendations for different levels as well.
One question, if we may, how long did it take you to master all this? It's a big question.
That is a big question. That's really hard to say. Just like everybody else, I started as a Link instructor learning IT to teach. So I guess it's been a matter of, 2 years before I was finished with my complete training, stage 4 and beyond. And now with Avenue, we have these new tools coming, like H5p is a new one that I started using maybe a year and a half ago. Have I mastered it? No, because we get new technology and new ideas all the time. And that keeps it fresh, and it makes it possible for me to learn from you guys as well. So if you have any ideas or suggestions, please let me know. We're always learning. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming today. It's a beautiful fall afternoon in New Brunswick. I hope it is too where you are, and that you have the opportunity to go out and get some fresh air and enjoy it. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in another webinar.